Buongiorno and welcome to Lisa's Italian Kitchen. Today I'm making for you a satisfying, delicious Italian-American classic, tomato pie. You all know how we Italians love tomatoes. Well, we decided to put tomatoes in a pie too and make a savory pie, or as we say in Italian, salato. There's nothing like starting your Sunday dinner with a slice as an appetizer before your first course with a slice of a nice savory pie. In my cookbooks, this tomato pie is in my second cookbook. This is Sunday dinner in menu 25. I also make lots of cheese pies to start dinner with. They're just a wonderful way to start your meal before your first course or your pasta. So this tomato pie is very simple, very delicious. I have my stand-up mixer here. If you don't have a stand-up mixer, you can do it with a hand mixer or even by hand. And I'm putting in 2 1/3 cups of flour. Everything's gonna go into the mixer together, nice and easy. What I love about this crust for this tomato pie is it has cheese in the crust. Fontina, yum. Then we're going to put 2 sticks or 1 cup of very cold butter, which I've already cut up into the flour. It's easier, just easier to if you slice the butter up, easier for it to mix. Then I have 3 cloves of chopped garlic. This gives the crust a bitey deliciousness, and then you're gonna have the creaminess in the crust of the fontina cheese. So we have 3 cups chopped garlic. This is 4 ounces, about a half a cup, of grated fontina. Remember, fontina is a creamy cheese. Really delicious from northern Italy, up in the Domodossola, the Dolomite region. Okay, now we're going to put about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of Sicilian sea salt, or whatever salt you like to use. And this we're going to mix. Of course, as we always do for pie crusts, I keep ice cold water handy. My Nonna taught me. For savory crusts, for sweet crusts, makes no difference. This ice cold water at the very end is going to make your pie crust adhere, come together. And here we go. Adhere and be nice. Now it's going to get to this beautiful crumbly state. You know, your pie crusts, they get big pieces of the butter, now down to the crumbly. When we add the ice cold water, it's going to make the small crumbles adhere. Okay, now we have our delicious savory pie crust with the fontina cheese, a cup of butter, and flour and salt. That's all. We added the ice water at the very end to make it adhere. We have a beautiful crust, wonderful texture. Now I'm going to roll this out, put it in my pie pan, and then we'll make the filling for the tomato pie. So I've made my crust with my delicious fontina cheese in it and chopped garlic. So it's a bitey, savory, cheesy crust. Now I'm going to make the filling. This tomato pie is not only excellent as an antipasto or before your first course at dinner, it's also wonderful for lunch. Maybe you're in a hurry during the week. It's wonderful for a brunch on a Saturday or a Sunday. It's just a very versatile dish. You know how we Italian Americans love our tomatoes and how we Italians love our tomatoes. We'll do anything with them. So here's the filling. So simple. 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And we're going to melt it over a medium heat. To the butter, I'm adding my 1 cup of white onions. And then I'm going to add a little salt and pepper and let these saute for a good 5 to 7 minutes until they're nice and transparent. Now remember, I've put garlic in the crust with the fontina cheese. So you have your garlicky flavor in the crust. Delish. And now you've got your sauteed white onions with the tomatoes, which are going to be the body of the tomato pie. So here we go. We're going to let this get nice and translucent before we add our tomatoes and Parmigiano Reggiano. This is a simple but wonderfully satisfying pie, savory pie for your table. And another way to use tomatoes and get your tomatoes. Now our onion is nice and translucent with our salt and pepper in the delicious unsalted butter. And I'm going to add 4 cups of chopped Roma tomatoes. Roma tomatoes have a lovely consistency to them. They're a firmer tomato, so they work really well in baked dishes like this. So I'm just going to stir and make sure that the onions are well incorporated with the 4 cups of chopped Roma tomatoes. And I already have my salt and pepper in here. So now I'm going to add, tomatoes lose a lot of, tomatoes are quite watery, but the Roma tomato is less watery and more meaty than others. So it's perfect for a baked dish like this. But just to incorporate, to make sure that the liquid becomes incorporated, what we're going to do is add about 3 teaspoons of flour. This just absorbs the liquid of the tomatoes. And then we're also going to add a cup of Parmigiano Reggiano. I'm going to stir in the flour to the tomatoes before I add the Parmigiano Reggiano. So there you go. And it's going to absorb a lot of the liquid. And then of course, if there is any liquid, when the pie cooks, the liquid will be absorbed as well. So my tomatoes have sauteed beautifully for about 7 to 8 minutes. They're just not too soft, but just at the right point. And you'll notice there is some liquid in here, but mixed with the flour, it's not as watery as ordinarily from the tomatoes. So this is going to absorb when you're cooking it. Now to this beautiful concoction of the butter, the onions, the tomatoes, and salt and pepper, we're going to add 1 cup of Parmigiano Reggiano and stir it really well. And this is going to give a lovely cheesy coating to the tomatoes. And we're going to pour this mixture into our delicious savory crust, which we made with flour, butter, garlic, chopped garlic, and fontina cheese. So this is a wonderful, decadent, delicious combination, but you're still getting your vegetables. So look at it that way. Yum. Look at how good that looks. So now we'll take this off of the heat And we're going to pour it into our prepared crust. Then we'll top the crust with a lattice topping that looks so pretty, and we'll bake it in the oven. So our tomato pie has cooked perfectly, and now it's nice and firm. You'll notice how little liquid there is in it, because by putting the 3 tablespoons of flour in with the tomatoes, it absorbs the liquid when it cooks. So it's a perfect, it adheres beautifully. Look at that delicious tomato pie. You have your crust with, this is country rustic goodness, Italian American style. You have your crust that has fontina cheese and garlic in it, your filling of tomatoes, white onion, butter, absolutely melts in your mouth. Perfect for a lunch, a brunch, a pranzo, before your first course, your antipasto at table. Classic goodness, Italian American style. Buon appetito. You know I can't resist this. Tutti a tavola. I better taste to make sure it's good for you. And enjoy some Italian American goodness. The tomatoes are just right. Not too soft, not too crunchy. Cooked perfectly. Let's taste the crust with our fontina cheese and garlic. I love salati crusts, savory crust, so delicious. This is just down-home goodness, Italian American style. Yum. Buon appetito. Tutti a tavola. Ciao, ciao.